Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take that fire hose of articles and research you send our way, and we try to distill it all down.
Right down into pure, potent intellectual espresso.
We're here to give you the ultimate shortcut to being, well, the most informed person in the room.
And today, we are strapping in for a big one. We're exploring one of the most fundamental and I think often really misunderstood forces in human society.
We're talking about attraction, status, and what truly dictates rank.
Exactly. And our sources this week have presented a fascinating and, frankly, disruptive hypothesis that challenges one of modern life's biggest assumptions.
And that assumption is that cash is king.
That cash is king.
Yeah, we are diving deep into the true currency of male attraction and social standing. So if you, like most people, you just assume a man's power, his desirability is tied directly to his salary.
Or the number in his bank account, the square footage of his house.
Right. All of that. Well, prepare to have that assumption pretty much demolished by millions of years of evolutionary pressure.
So our mission today, really, is to unpack this foundational idea of Pleistocene currency. We're going to look past all the fleeting abstract measures of modern financial success,
And wind the clock way, way back.
deep into our evolutionary roots to try and understand what truly triggers that, that instinctual, undeniable recognition of high status in the human brain.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The most crucial point from the source material, this is really the thesis for this whole deep dive. It just explicitly challenges the modern financial ranking system. It notes, and I'm quoting here, "You can't just rank a man's sexiness by his salary. Lots of wealthy CEOs can't get a date."
And that's the essential cognitive dissonance we have to confront, right? In our world, we operate under this belief that money solves almost every problem.
Especially social and romantic ones.
Of course. But if raw financial wealth were the ultimate, the singular fitness indicator, then every high net worth individual would be, effortlessly successful in the meeting market.
But they're not.
They are not.
Yeah.
The fact that many wealthy CEOs or founders, they struggle socially or they have to use their wealth explicitly to buy status signals,
Yeah.
it just proves it.
It proves that the modern economy and the deep inherited evolutionary economy are, well, they're fundamentally disconnected.
They're speaking different languages.
Okay, I have to push back a little here right away.
Go for it.
Isn't a CEO's power, even if it's hidden or abstract, isn't that a higher form of provisioning assurance than, say, a famous musician's?
How so?
Well, hidden wealth guarantees shelter, food, security for decades. That sounds like extremely high status to me.
That's a brilliant distinction, actually, because it forces us to define status based on visibility versus reliability.
Okay.
Abstract wealth, the balance sheet, the merger details, that requires a complex intellectual translator to be understood.
You have to read the annual report to know that guy is powerful.
Precisely. But now, rewind the clock, way back. We're talking about the ancient economy of Homo erectus and early Homo sapiens.
A million years ago.
A million years ago. Money, as we understand it, this universally accepted liquid store of value, it just didn't exist.
So if there's no ledger, no bank account, no cash, how do you keep score? What was the commodity that signaled success and, more importantly, future provisioning cooperative value to the tribe?
Well, the sources are really clear on this. The real Pleistocene currency was attention.
Attention.
Attention. It dictated status and therefore access to resources and mates through all of Homo erectus and the vast majority of Homo sapiens evolution.
So it wasn't about what you owned, it was about deference. It was about whose voice carried the most weight at the campfire.
Whose opinion mattered.
So if the modern person is out there chasing dollars or Bitcoin, our ancestors were chasing eyeballs and respect. It's a completely different reward system.
But it's one that our fundamental neurological wiring, our dopamine feedback loops for social validation, they're still built for that older system.
The brain still recognizes attention as the primal sign of safety and resources.
And this leads us directly to the context of where these ancestral tribes lived, which is just crucial for understanding why material goods fell short as the ultimate status indicators.
Right. It all comes down to the logistics of ancient life. Let's talk about that semi-nomadic context. Our sources, they paint a very clear picture of these societies. They weren't settled homesteaders, right? They weren't building permanent, complex structures.
Not at all. They were constantly on the move, following resources, shifting camps, always in motion, even if it was within, established ranges.
And that semi-nomadic lifestyle, it fundamentally limits the concept of material wealth in a way we can barely even imagine. We think of wealth as like limitless acquisition.
You just keep adding to the pile.
But if your tribe is always on the move, what's the hard limit on the size, the weight, the volume of your personal possessions?
It's exactly what one person or maybe your immediate family can physically carry.
That puts an immediate and, a very physical cap on accumulation. If you killed a huge animal, you couldn't store it, you ate it, you shared it.
Exactly. You couldn't save it for 10 years.
Yeah.
If you made a great tool, it had to be lightweight and useful, or you just have to abandon it at the next stop. The environment demanded mobility.
So if a hominid accumulated too much stuff, too many heavy skins, beautifully carved but heavy tools, they immediately faced a logistical problem.
Their possessions become a liability. They're slowing the group down, making everyone vulnerable.
But this is where that delightful social caveat comes in, and it brings us right back to the central thesis.
Okay.
The source notes that the limit on possessions was what you could carry.
Or what you could persuade other people to carry for you.
That detail is the smoking gun.
It really is. Because even in the context of material goods, the underlying currency was still social influence. It was the ability to leverage the labor, the goodwill, the resources of others.
So if someone volunteered to carry your heavy, precious shell necklace for 50 miles, that's not charity.
No, that is deference. It is a public recognition of your high social status.
So while hominids absolutely displayed expensive possessions, and our sources have this brilliant line, before SUVs there were seashell necklaces, these things were secondary.
They were indicators of success, but not the success itself.
They were the receipt, not the purchase price.
That's a perfect way to put it. The primacy wasn't the object. It was the respect that the object hinted at. If you wore a rare seashell necklace that had traveled 500 miles,
it's not just a pretty object.
No, it's signaling your network, your trade skills, your ability to command protection. The sources argue the true marker wasn't the volume of crap you owned,
but rather how many people wanted to do you a favor.
And that is the ultimate timeless measure of social capital, isn't it? If people are willing to expend their energy, their time, their risk on your behalf.
To help you hunt, carry your gear, support you in a dispute.
It signals that you possess a high and necessary value to the collective, that you are worth investing in.
This command of attention, this widespread respect, it was directly and, brutally linked to survival. In that environment, to be ignored was to be dead.
Absolutely.
Walk us through that link. How does commanding attention translate into evolutionary fitness and reproductive success?
Well, just consider the risks. You've got hunting large game, dealing with predators, seasonal scarcity, tribal conflicts. It's a dangerous world. So if a man commanded attention, meaning people listened immediately when he spoke, they sought his advice, they deferred to his judgment, he's functionally seen as a leader, or at least a highly valuable asset.
And that position guaranteed access to community support.
Right. Shared resources during a famine. Immediate protection if you're attacked.
Which means he was deemed a reliable provider and protector, not just for himself, but for any potential dependents.
Precisely. In the high-stakes environment of the Pleistocene, community support was the prerequisite for attracting a high-quality mate, or what the source calls getting a good nest maker.
The social standing, earned through commanding attention, it just paved the way for reproductive success.
You're essentially advertising your group's fitness through your personal social rank.
Which brings us to this radical redefinition of what a nest even means for humans.
Right.
If you look at most species birds, rodents, the nest is a physical thing, a burrow, a woven structure, a hive. But for early humans, the sources say you have to throw that idea out.
You do. When we hear nest, we automatically think of shelter, a home base. But the sources remind us that because of their mobility, humans were less homesteaders than campers.
They're building temporary, flexible shelters, things you can pack up and move quickly.
So if you are a camper, a permanent material nest just doesn't make much evolutionary sense. And therefore, the sources conclude, human nests are inherently less material than social.
The safety isn't in the walls, it's in the numbers.
That is the critical, fundamental shift in perspective. For a species like ours that relies on cooperation for everything, hunting, defense, childcare, language, the real, safe, resource-rich environment isn't the physical campsite.
It's the social structure itself.
The real nest is the community. It's all those other hominids in your community who agree to cooperate with you.
And that realization just reframes everything we do today. If the social group is the true nest, then most of the material things we accumulate aren't purely for personal comfort.
No, they are explicitly to impress them. the social group.
Think about it. Why buy a car that's objectively 50% faster than the speed limit?
Or a house with 4,000 square feet for two people who only need 800.
These purchases are not about utility. They're about signaling to the community, to the social mess, that you are a high-status inhabitant who controls excess resources.
The house, the car, the designer clothes. They're less about comfort and more about aggressively signaling your rank within that complex social nest.
And you have to keep moving to gather more of the social currency attention. It becomes a constant performance.
It connects directly to the competitive drive we share with our primate cousins. Humans compete less for physical territory, the actual ground you stand on, and far, far more for rank within the group.
So territory and possessions are necessary, but they're only symbols of that underlying all-important rank.
They're evidence of the status, not the status itself.
So the real prize isn't the physical land or the accumulation of objects. The real prize is the perception of status that those things convey to the social environment.
It's winning the approval and, crucially, the continued focus of the tribe.
And that's where this powerful metaphor comes in, attention as psychic territory.
It's a great metaphor. If the tribe is your nest, then the attention of that tribe, their collective consciousness, their focus, is a kind of psychic territory.
And this is the prime location where, as the source calls us, cooperative apes, this is where we need to survive.
This is where you harvest the resources.
Psychic territory. I love that. It's so abstract and yet viscerally true. But what does harvesting resources actually look like within this territory?
That means you are occupying the minds of others. You're the source of information, the focus of conversation, the recipient of collective goodwill, if you're occupying that psychic territory.
You're constantly being prioritized, deferred to, included in cooperative ventures.
Resources just flow toward the center of attention.
And conversely, if you're ignored, you're functionally invisible, socially exiled, cut off from the benefits of the cooperative nest, even if you're standing right in the middle of camp.
You become a non-entity, which back then was a death sentence.
So the key takeaway is distilled perfectly by the source material. He who controls the attention is high status and sexually attractive.
Attention is the visible, the immediate, the undeniable indicator of social gravity and evolutionary fitness. It's the metric that transcends language and culture.
Which finally allows us to return to the modern status conundrum that we started with.
The CEO versus the rock star.
Exactly. Why does a high salary or CEO status often fail to elicit the same visceral Pleistocene reaction as sheer fame or rock star status?
Because the rock star is the modern embodiment of commanding mass attention. They don't just occupy a small corner of the tribe's attention, they occupy the attention of millions.
When a rock star walks into a room or just appears on a screen, every head turns.
They command a massive swath of psychic territory. Immediately, visibly. The sheer volume of attention they command is undeniable proof of rank.
Oh, wait, let's play devil's advocate again. Isn't a CEO's abstract power, their ability to sign billion-dollar checks, a higher form of provisioning assurance? Shouldn't that guarantee higher status? I mean, that abstract power can buy the rock star and his entire concert venue.
And that's where the evolutionary disconnect happens. The CEO's rank is recorded primarily on paper or in complex specialized systems, the bullet points on their resume.
The successful merger, the quarterly profit increase.
All of that, while undeniably powerful in a modern economic context, it does not trigger the deep, instinctual, immediate recognition of high rank that sheer raw fame does.
So their wealth is often private. Their influence is abstract and contextual. You need a spreadsheet and a Bloomberg terminal.
And a degree in macroeconomics.
To appreciate the CEO's rank. Their status requires an intellectual decoder ring.
Exactly. Whereas you only need working eyes, ears, and a functioning social brain to appreciate the rock star's rank. The rock star's attention control is the raw, untainted Pleistocene currency.
It's prelingual.
It completely bypasses the cerebral cortex and hits the amygdala, where that instinctual status assessment lives. The CEO is a king, but a king in a hidden castle.
And the rock star is standing on the highest peak, broadcasting his rank to everyone.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the source material gives us an extreme example of maximum evolutionary fitness indicators. It bundles together the best of both worlds.
They point to the male professional basketball player.
This specific profession, in the eyes of evolutionary fitness, is just an ideal combination of factors. It's a perfect storm of status signals that satisfy both the primitive brain and the modern mind.
And the sources say it's reportedly designed to cause a heterosexual woman's ovary singing.
Not because of the sport itself, But because of the 5 big fitness indicators, it signals simultaneously.
Okay, let's dedicate some serious time to this. Let's list and elaborate on those 5 indicators and why each one is so powerful. We need to understand the biological and sociological punch of this status cluster bomb.
Let's do it.
Mhm.
We'll start with the most obvious and unavoidable physical signal, height.
Right.
This is a direct physical indicator of good health and access to resources during development. In the ancestral environment, a taller hominid would have had advantages in combat, display, resource reach.
Visibility.
Visibility, yeah.
Mhm.
And research backs this up overwhelmingly, even today. Taller men statistically get higher salaries. They're perceived as more dominant, more likely to be selected for leadership positions.
It's a visible, non-negotiable status signal that starts before a single word is spoken.
Okay, next is fame. As we've established, this is controlling attention, the core currency. Professional players are watched by millions worldwide. They occupy vast swaths of psychic territory.
And their fame means their needs and opinions are amplified and prioritized by society at large.
Fame acts as a force multiplier for every other trait. It takes a private asset, like talent, and makes it a public, visible, undeniable proof of elite social rank.
It ensures that everyone in the social nest knows precisely where you stand in the hierarchy.
Third, wealth. Now, while we said salary alone isn't enough, when you combine it with fame and physical indicators, high wealth acts as an undeniable multiplier.
It signals massive, ongoing resource control that can sustain that high status for generations.
So wealth legitimizes the fame. It transitions the status from ephemeral celebrity to, dynastic power. It says, I am important enough to be watched, and I am powerful enough to monetize that attention permanently.
Okay, number 4, this is where the biology gets fascinating. Body symmetry.
This is a subtle but incredibly potent indicator of genetic quality. Evolutionary psychologists call it low fluctuating asymmetry.
What exactly does that mean in simple terms?
Well, it refers to the small, random deviations from perfect symmetry in an organism like a human. We're built to be symmetrical, right? 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms.
Sure.
If an organism experiences high developmental stress, poor nutrition, parasites, illness while it's growing, these stresses manifest as slight random asymmetries. A perfectly symmetrical body suggests a powerful immune system and robust genetics that successfully fought off all those stressors.
So when our inherited instincts find symmetry attractive, they are essentially reading a health report. They're registering a low parasite load and optimal developmental conditions, which is a universally attractive signal across the whole animal kingdom.
It's deep biological math that happens instantly. A high degree of symmetry broadcasts. I have strong genes, I am resilient, and I'm likely to pass those resilient genes on.
That's incredibly potent in the Pleistocene calculus.
Huge. And finally, number 5, athleticism.
This one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it demonstrates immediate physical prowess, strength, speed, health, the primal ability to hunt, defend the group, and survive threats.
And a professional basketball player embodies the ultimate modern hunter-defender, capable of high-level motor control under extreme stress.
They are demonstrably superior specimens in a visible, easily measurable way. Their whole profession is a public display of peak physical fitness, which maps directly onto the ancestral requirements for provisioning and protection.
So to put it bluntly, that one profession successfully checks every single evolutionary box, all at once. It's the ultimate status cluster bomb.
The sources suggest that if you hit that level, you're going to have trouble scheduling time to play basketball because you're so busy dealing with the social and romantic fallout of your sky-high status.
It really serves as a perfect benchmark for what our inherited instincts still value most highly, a multi-layered package of physical, social, and resource advantages.
And social attention is the linchpin that makes all those other signals visible and operational.
But the beauty of the source material and why this deep dive offers some hope to the vast majority of us is that it doesn't leave the short, the unknown, or the klutzy out in the cold. It offers a counter-narrative, an evolutionary pathway for success that doesn't rely on being 7 feet tall with a perfect BMI.
Absolutely. The sources explicitly address those of us who might be short, unknown, poor, lopsided klutzes. We shouldn't give up hope because evolution has provided another pathway to success.
A pathway based on intellectual and social contribution rather than purely physical assets.
And this brings us to a very specific and compelling theory, the mean machine theory, which is based on the work of Susan Blackmore.
Right, author of the book of the same name. And we need to be clear here. A meme in Blackmore's context, is not an internet joke with a cat on it.
No, not at all. Blackmore defines a meme as a unit of cultural transmission or imitation, an idea, a behavior, an invention, a skill, something that is replicated from one person's mind to another's.
And her contention is that for a vast period, she suggests 2.5 million years, spanning from early tool users to modern Homo sapiens.
Women mated with the best spreaders of ideas.
That is a staggering claim because it places cognitive and communicative prowess above raw physical strength for the long haul of human evolution.
It means that the ability to generate, articulate, and propagate useful or compelling ideas was a massive fitness indicator, perhaps even larger than physical prowess over the very long term.
I mean, think about the evolutionary payoff. If you are the hominid who figured out the new, more efficient hunting spear design,
Or the better way to process fire for warmth and safety, or the most effective way to solve a communal dispute without bloodshed.
you were contributing directly and overwhelmingly to the group's survival. Your ideas, your successful memes gave the entire tribe a critical advantage.
So you might be short and lopsided, but if the tribe starts using your brilliant new technique for curing hides, you are now indispensable.
You're commanding attention and demonstrating intellectual leadership. It's just a more sustainable, long-term form of high rank.
And that's the crucial link back to the currency of attention. If the tribe incorporates your ideas, if they adopt your fire technique or follow your navigation advice, they are physically and mentally deferring to your intellectual leadership.
You occupy their minds and their actions, which is the ultimate control of psychic territory.
Which is why the sources drive this point home by concluding that today, women might prefer an ugly, broke guy if the tribe incorporates his ideas.
Because the perceived value lies not in the vessel, the body, or the immediate cash, but in the utility and viability of the social contribution. The ability to enhance the collective nest is a powerful sexual signal.
It's the ultimate evolutionary trade-off, isn't it? While a basketball player offers instant genetic health and immediate resource control.
The idea spreader offers group survival and adaptability across generations.
One is a sprint, the other is a marathon, but both grant high status.
This leads to the incredibly provocative summary provided by the source material itself. It asks the critical and, yeah, slightly cynical question, bullshitters get the babes.
It's a deliberately jarring phrase, I think, intended to challenge our assumptions about truth versus persuasion.
Right.
The bullshitter in this context isn't necessarily a liar. It's the highly skilled communicator, the ideator, the compelling storyteller, the persuasive rhetorician.
So if the ideas, even if they're unconventional or require some faith, if they are compelling enough to be spread and adopted by the group, that individual gains immense social standing.
It highlights that social status isn't always about being right. It's about being convincing. If your idea makes the tribe feel safer, even if it's a superstition that leads to a cooperative ritual, you are increasing social cohesion.
And thus, your personal rank.
And the source material ends this section with this humorous but really potent challenge, connecting this intellectual path back to the physical path. It says, shoot this through a hoop, Jordan.
Yeah. It emphasizes that mental and social contribution can supersede physical and material assets in the long run.
The brain, the meme machine, is a powerful, if slower, fitness indicator than sheer musculature.
It provides essential balance. We see the immediate physical attention-grabbing indicators in the athlete, but we also recognize the enduring, cognitive, and socially transformative indicators of the philosopher or the inventor.
Both pathways ultimately lead to controlling the most valuable resource, the attention of the social group.
So now that we've established that status is the game and attention is the currency, let's broaden this out a bit. Let's talk about the universal nature of social organization.
Because this isn't just some quirky human adaptation. It's a system required for complex life.
That's right. The sources remind us that social hierarchy is a universal reality across the animal kingdom. Whether you're a primate, a fish, even a highly social insect, all social systems are hierarchical.
Which suggests that hierarchy isn't a complex cultural invention or some moral failure of society. It's a necessary organizing principle for any group that has to cooperate and compete at the same time.
It efficiently sorts out who gets access to resources first, which reduces the energy everyone spends on constant fighting.
And our ancestral tribal societies were no exception. They were economically unequal.
But not necessarily in terms of accumulated stuff, as we've established. You couldn't carry much.
Right. The inequality was in terms of access to the most vital resources: high-quality food, shelter prioritization, and sexual opportunity. all dictated by rank.
We can visualize this hierarchy as a kind of competition funnel. You have a large number of hominids who are all intensely competing for a small number of high-status positions in the tribe.
Everyone wants to be the leader, the innovator, the hero.
And the result of this funnel was a natural distribution curve, almost like a pyramid scheme of attention.
A few, the best attention commanders, they ended up on top. A few unfortunate souls ended up on the bottom, often marginalized or exiled, and the vast majority.
We're somewhere in the middle, just vying constantly for minor status increments.
What's critical is how this intense social environment shaped our psychology. The sources tell us that we, modern humans, we inherited two very specific and often contradictory traits from these ancestors.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first inheritance is the fundamental, deep-seated desire to be popular, to be high status, and critically, the corresponding sexual attraction to popularity.
So we are programmed to want high status and to be attracted to those who have it. This is the driver of the entire system.
It's the primal desire that explains why we still seek approval, why social media likes and engagement metrics feel so good, and why celebrity culture is globally dominant.
It's the attention harvest mechanism running in overdrive.
And the second inheritance is maybe the most psychologically complex and modern one. It's the source of incredible internal conflict.
And that is?
The pretense that we are too good to care about popularity.
Oh, that is fascinating cognitive dissonance.
Isn't it? It's the conflict between our evolutionary desire for rank, to be the center of the attention economy, and our modern philosophical rejection of superficiality.
We crave attention and status with every biological fiber, but culturally we feel we have to pretend we're above it all, that we're independent thinkers who value substance over spectacle.
It's the classic teenager saying, "I don't care what anyone thinks," while obsessively checking their phone for notifications.
Right. We denounce the transparent pursuit of popularity while secretly measuring ourselves against the attention metrics of our social peers. This pretense is a way to socially signal virtue, even if our actions betray our instincts.
And that pretense is a social strategy in itself. To openly crave popularity is often seen as low status, desperate, or shallow. So we evolved the ability to feign detachment while aggressively competing for psychic territory behind the curtain.
It's an essential component of modern social camouflage.
And the sources leave us with a definitive and pretty stark concluding thought on the seriousness of this whole competition. It reminds us that regardless of our modern sensibilities, the underlying mechanism is primal.
The human race is a race.
It's not just a clever phrase, it's a summary of biological reality. We are competing for status, for attention, and for rank, because those things directly translated to survival and reproductive success for millions of years. And those programs are still running.
Okay, that was a truly deep dive through the evolutionary economics of status. Let's briefly synthesize the core takeaways for you, tying together this nomadic past and our highly connected present.
Well, we fundamentally shifted our understanding of status. We established that the true currency for ancestral attraction was not abstract cash, but immediate visible attention.
We learned that the limitations of the nomadic lifestyle force status competition out of the physical world of possessions and into the social realm.
And this attention is harvested in the social nest, the community itself, which is why fame and immediate visibility, like that of a rock star, still triggers a more visceral, prelingual status recognition than the abstract paper wealth of a CEO.
We also analyzed the perfection of the professional basketball player as the status cluster bomb, embodying the 5 essential fitness indicators.
Height, fame, wealth, body symmetry, and athleticism. That's the high-risk, high-reward, fast track to status.
And for those who don't have that perfect physical bundle, there is the intellectual path. The long game, defined by the meme machine theory, where spreading successful group-benefiting ideas confers high status, even for the ugly broke guy.
And the importance of the social group and your functional rank within it remains paramount, regardless of the method you use to achieve it.
Indeed. We now have a clear evolutionary understanding of the mechanics of male status acquisition, how men compete for and command attention, and consequently access to mates and resources.
And this brings us to the final, provocative question posed by the source material itself, which brilliantly sets up the framework for future exploration.
Now that we understand how men get sex, the source asks the inverse. Can we guess how women catch men? Did women inherit any instinct to compete for attention?
And this is the perfect thought to leave you with, because it introduces this crucial sociological tension.
If men's primary sexual strategy evolved around competing for and commanding attention, is the female strategy equally competitive in the social arena, just expressed differently?
The source material suggests a potential next step for research, proposing an anthropological study of the modern dating scene to, and I quote, measure how much single women angelically nurture each other.
That is the ultimate challenge to be mulled over. Consider the tension between the universal inherited imperative for social competition, since all social systems are hierarchical, and the strong cultural expectation for nurturing and non-competitive behavior among women.
If attention is currency for everyone, how does the competitive harvest of psychic territory manifest in the female social and mating landscape today? Does attention-seeking look the same for all sexes?
Fascinating. Whether through physical prowess, vast wealth, or the quiet power of indispensable ideas, status is the game. And whether we like it or not, we're all still hardwired to play by those ancient Pleistocene rules.
Something to think about the next time you post anything online or walk into a new social setting. You're not just existing, you're harvesting psychic territory, and your inherited brain is tallying the score.
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.